Have you set a New Year's resolution to improve your music career? Have you found yourself setting goals to hit higher numbers, more streaming, more sales, more merch, whatever it may be? Do you find yourself being jealous of other musicians who are doing better than you and you're a little bit better? You feel that you have more skills, more talent. Why is it not you up there on that big stage right now playing that big show or opening for that big group? Well, honestly, some of our growth can be stagnated from ourselves and the habits we have that can sabotage our careers and our growth. So maybe it's time we had to think on that. Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode. So glad to have you. And we have a two-parter today. And today we're going to talk about the 10 worst habits that musicians seem to carry around with themselves, and they can hold their careers back and make you feel that stagnation that we all feel, the ups and downs of having a music career. And the next episode, next week, we're going to have the 10 best habits of successful musicians, so be looking out for that. If any of this is useful to you, or you can get a little bit of nugget of truth out of it, or just some entertainment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. All that stuff helps us out. But we're going to get right into it, and let's talk about those 10 most bad habits that we as musicians tend to have. And the thing about this is that we have to be honest with ourselves, because at some point, all of us have done some of these, at least all of them, to either which degree that may be, horrible, or you're the worst about it, or just a little bit. But it's present in all of our careers, all of our daily lives. And the point of this is not to point that out and say, haha, we're better than them, or I'm better than them, or I'm the worst because of this. It's to get better going forward at acknowledging those things as they happen. When you find yourselves, doing some of these habits that are considered bad habits or might be holding you back, acknowledge them. Next time you'll get a little bit better about it. You might avoid it, or you might not do it as much, whatever it may be. That's the whole point of this. So, number one, get right into it. We all know that musician. We've all been that musician where procrastination is one of those habits that just holds us back. And there's so many different reasons for this, but the more that you start to identify yourself doing it, finding reasons not to do things, putting them further back, moving them down the calendar, or putting them off altogether, the more that can start to build on itself and then become the reasons not to get things done. It can be the reasons that you're not seeing the growth that you need to see. You're not getting those shows. You're not booking bigger gigs. You're not putting out the amount of music that you want to be putting out, just because you're letting yourself procrastinate and find reasons not to do things. And a huge giveaway when you're, in your career that this is happening is that if you've taken the time to set goals or, set dates for things as you really should be, and you're missing those time after time after time, and you're making either the same excuses or just coming up with a myriad of different excuses, you might be suffering from this procrastination problem. So be aware of that. It's a big one. We all suffer from it, in different forms, different ways. But the more that you can identify, oh, I'm starting to procrastinate, or, I tend to do this. I can use my own example for, myself. When I'm with groups or bands or whatever music I'm writing, I take longer to write lyrics than most people for whatever reason. I let it develop over time. I mess with different scales and try to get a different sound or whatever it may be. But I find myself procrastinating most on lyrics, and that's my crux, and I know that mostly about myself because that's self-reflection and figuring that out. So those are the kind of things you want to do. Moving forward to number 2 is poor time management. And this one could be a really big one, where you really don't have any set structure to what you do daily, weekly, monthly for your music career, and you just let it happen as it happens. Poor time management becomes the biggest culprit of stealing from your momentum and your career moving forward. And especially if you're not setting dedicated time to, writing and recording, or, working on your social media, or whatever it is you need to spend time on. If you're not delegating those out, as to I need to spend time here, I need to spend time here, then it just completely goes to waste. And every musician knows that, just because when it comes to practicing, whatever your instrument is, or if it's your voice, whatever it is, when you go to sit down and you say, I'm going to practice, and then you just start, messing around, singing songs you like, playing songs you like, and you're not really having a structured time of, working on scales, learning this particular new song, and diving deep into it and getting what you can from it and using that time as best you possibly can. That's where that poor time management comes in. And if you'd had just more of a structure, I'm going to work on scales from this time to this time. I'm going to work on learning a new song for, 15 minutes to 30 minutes. I'm going to work on my performance for half an hour here. Those kind of structures and use of time can really get rid of this bad habit. Number 3, moving on to no self-awareness and ignoring feedback. And we all know this musician, and you really don't want to be this musician. And that is the person that is really bad at being aware of their own self skills and, where they fit in the world and where they're at, musically. We're all at different parts of our journey of, I'm a great songwriter, but I'm a bad performer, or I'm great at live shows, but I can't write songs for crap. We all have different things that we have to, get better at and try to balance out who we are as a musician, as a writer, whatever it may be. But we've all met that musician that is, a little full of themselves. Maybe they've had a little success. Maybe they're just completely oblivious, whatever it is. But they think they're the best thing in the world. Their poo don't stink. And they'll tell you they're the best thing in the room, But when it comes down to it, being that person that has no self-awareness, won't take feedback, can't take criticism, doesn't include others, always puts themselves at the top of the, I'm the reason why this is great. I don't need others. If you're that person, people stop wanting to work with you. People really stop wanting to see you succeed. People really try to move away from you. Even if you think that they're there to support you, they're really not. You just happen to be at the room at the same time. You're playing a show where they're at the time. It's not a good situation. You don't want to be this person. You don't want to be that narcissist. You don't want to be the egomaniac. So just self-awareness and being willing to say, I'm not the greatest thing in the world. I need to work on certain things. Taking the feedback from others. That's a huge, huge, huge good habit, and avoid this bad habit. Number 4, that one is a huge one, and I can really attest to this one because I have been one of the worst about it, and that is isolation. And you don't want to be that musician that lives on an island. And this bad habit comes from many different things. It can come from saying, I don't need others, or I'm not good enough to be with others. I want to make myself, a really good musician, or I want to make sure the songs that I'm sharing are at their best possible, whatever it may be, whatever it has to be. You want to make it sure it's the highest level before you're ready to share it. That's always a reason that we find ourselves being on that island. Some of it can be that no self-awareness where you're that person that's the egomaniac, or just, thinks their poo don't stink and nobody else around them is good enough to even play with you. This can really, again, stagnate a career, stagnate your growth, because you're the person that people don't want to work with, or you're not being the person that is taking that step, that initiative, or, putting themselves out there to collaborate with others, to find ways to make music with others, to, build a fan base, because you go out and talk to those people listening to music, figure out what they like, what they don't like. All those things can really, the more you isolate yourself, the slower your career grows, And let's move on to number 5, and that is tunnel vision. And again, we're all guilty of this one in some way or another. But the hard part about having a music career is that there are so many different hats we all wear. There's just so much we all have to do. There's a balancing that we all have to try to do. We're all writing songs. We're all producing. We're all recording music. We're all doing all of these things: live performance, booking our own shows, dealing with social media, whatever it may be. And the problem is that if you have the tunnel vision and you get into this mindset of you're just looking at one thing at a time, where I'm going to start writing my songs, I'm going to make sure they're the best, and I'm not going to focus on anything else. I'm going to neglect my social media. I'm going to neglect playing live shows. I'm going to neglect practicing and getting better. I'm just going to write these songs and get them recorded. And then you're shifting over to, okay, I've got these songs, they're done, they're recorded, I'm going to put them out in the world, but you didn't, cultivate your fan base. You didn't do any promotion. You didn't do any of the other things, the artwork, and, reaching out to other people. Those kind of things are the things that can really, again, hold you back, stop things from moving forward, because the truth is those that are successful are great about balancing everything at a time, spinning those plates and keeping them going. And that's a tough thing to do. But if you find yourself being that person that's not hitting their goals, that's not hitting the times that they've set for themselves, this tunnel vision can be a big reason, and learning to be better about multitasking and spinning those plates and keeping them going. That'll help you avoid this bad habit. Number six is again one that musicians are notorious for being the worst about, and that's neglecting financial management. And for some reason, it just seems to be part of being a musician. We're horrible with money. We all like to tell ourselves, especially in the beginning, it's about the music. It's not about the money. But the truth is that it is about the money. You don't get to keep making music and make this a career or a strong hobby and keep investing into yourself and growing without money coming in and putting it in those places. Uh, so if you're telling yourself that lie right now is I don't care about money, it's all about the music, then that's where you're going to get hung up. I promise you, we've all done it. So find ways to get better about prioritizing where you need to invest your money. Don't be that person that just goes out and buys, piece of gear after piece after gear, after new guitar, after new amp, after a new keyboard or whatever it may be. It's not all about the gear. If you're not prioritizing what's going to make the biggest step forward for you in your career and your sound and your skills, all those things need to be prioritized. And, taking the financial part of your music on, how much is coming in, how much is going out. You need to look at this as a business. Am I doing my taxes? Am I going to be able to do this full time? Can I, how many more shows do I need to play to stop doing my day job? All those kind of things are very important. And if you're not taking those on, it can really hold your career back because you don't have the money to invest in the things that really matter. I need to put money towards building a website or getting my name out there or putting some ads out so that I can attract the right people to listen to my music, all those kind of things. So don't want to have that bad habit of neglecting your financial side of your music. Now, number 7, I don't care who you are right now, but you have said this, and I promise you it's been a bad habit that can really hold you back, and that's perfectionism. We've all said that phrase of, I just got to take me a little bit longer. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I just got to get it right. And you really, really, really got to start breaking yourself of this habit, because that's how things start becoming, putting them in the back burner. That procrastination, this perfectionism and procrastination really go hand in hand of finding reasons not to move forward or just put it out or accept it as it is. You don't want to be somebody who is just, it's not good enough, or I'm afraid to share this with everybody because it's not at the level I want. So avoid perfectionism. If you hear yourself saying those words of I'm just a perfectionist, maybe take a step back and be like, oh, maybe I'm focusing on the wrong things and I've lacked looking at the big picture, and I need to do that again. Moving on to number 8. This is one, again, we're all guilty of this one, just like all of these. And this one is comparing yourself to others. And you don't want to get stuck in this rut. And like we said earlier, we're all on different stages of our journeys. We're all at different points, of our growth when it comes to being a musician or, an artist, whatever it is. We're all different parts of this journey. And if you're comparing yourself to so-and-so who you think you're just as talented as, or you write better music, or you play better at your instrument, and you should be up there, you don't know what it took to get them there. You don't know what breaks they got. You don't know how long they had to, get on their knees and beg for that opportunity, or, how many years they sat in the background just trying to grow their own skills and get the confidence to get to where they're at. It doesn't help you to compare yourself to others. And that's when you find yourself being that person that's, finding reasons to put people down or not be engaged in their wins. And I promise you, if you're that person that's negative or just stepping away when somebody else is doing better, it's going to hurt you. You should find a way to be honest with yourself and to be happy about what they've done. Say, hey, that's great that you got this great show. I can't believe you played for that many people. That's fantastic. I can't wait till I get there myself, and that's a great chance to engage and say how proud you are of them. And maybe sometime you can sit down with me and tell me how you achieved this or what things you had to overcome to get here, because I feel like I'm not quite getting there. It's a chance to have that talk with whoever that may be. So just be aware if you're comparing yourself to too many other people, especially if you're talking about the top-notch people. They have 5 million streams, they have 100 million streams, and on so-and-so, and they're getting these big deals and they're selling out these shows. If that's not where in your journey, don't hold that. It can be a goal, it can be an aspiration, but it shouldn't be something that you're putting yourself down for because you're not there. Moving on to number 9, and again, we all know this musician, that flaky person or that non-dependable musician, and kind of comes down to that poor time management. But this is that person that where you set a date or you set a time for either, a rehearsal or practice or recording, and they don't show up. We all do that. That's fine. We all have reasons. Life is hard. Things happen. But if you're that person that's consistently doing that, if you find yourself putting out those texts of, I'm sick today, or I can't make it because my aunt died, or whatever it may be, you don't want to be that person. And people are very good at understanding really quickly. That first time you usually get a buy from whoever you're with, those understand, we all have life happen. But if it consistently keeps happening, that's where you have the problem. If you're just not showing up, if you're ghosting and then just disappearing, or, consistently late, you don't want to be that person that's always late. You can be late a couple times because it's just, again, it's part of life. But if you're that person that's consistently late, you get that overall, just people think that's exactly who you are. You're that late person. That musician's never on time. They're never where they need to be. They always call off. They always cancel my shows when I book them. You really don't want to be that person. I mean, especially in the audio engineering world, if you have a studio, oh my goodness, you deal with this on a daily basis. This is the reason that most studios have, deposits, because musicians are so notorious for, ghosting, disappearing. And I myself, I always tried to avoid that, to try to see the best in people and give them that chance of, I had to cancel this time, but how many times I've had people, book something, just completely disappear. I get it. I mean, just it's musicians. So don't be that person. Try to not. And if you do have something come, over communicate. Tell them why you can't do it. Tell them when you're going to be able to do it, how you're going to fix the situation. Don't be the person that ghosts. So number 10, and the very last bad habit we'll talk about for musicians, is wishful thinking and non-action. And this is just that musician that and you may have done this, of course, yourself at some point in your career, or even do it today, where you say, hey, that's great. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll figure it out at the show. We'll just do an open section. We'll play it. We'll improv, and we'll just do it that way. Or you're that person that's going to show up to the studio. You've got most of the song written, but you'll figure out the rest when you get there and whatever. And yeah, that can work. Yeah, it works from time to time. But if this is what you're consistently doing with this habit and you're bad about it, it's going to catch up with you, and you're going to be, playing inferior shows. You're going to be putting out product that's not that good, music that's not that great because you settled, when it really could have been better if you just set a little more structure. If you'd sat down and spent a little more time in rehearsal saying, we're going to play, this song this way. We're going to, opening, we're going to have a couple verses, chorus, verse, and this is where we're going to do the back and forth, a little bit of improv back and forth. You solo a little bit, I'll solo a little bit. That's great. As long as it's structured and that, the more structure you can bring to whatever you're doing, the better you're going to be. Preparedness really will take you much further. So if you find yourself being that wishful thinker or that person that I'll get to it later, we'll do it when it happens, try to be aware of that, and just next time say, okay, so I find myself always putting this off and waiting till the last second. Let's just go right up to it, and I'll have everything set to go, and then we'll just get in there, and then we'll tweak it as we go. That's much better. And then so every time just get a little bit better. So that's the top 10 bad habits that we as musicians have, and that you can conquer today and get better and watch your career move forward faster. So try those out. If those helped you out in any way, if you find yourself being one of those people, comment down below, tell us about it. Give us a like and a share and whatever it may be, or subscribe. All those things really help us out. And of course, next week we'll have that episode about the 10 best habits of successful musicians. Be sure to check that out, and we'll see you there. Bye.